how to consciously train your mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony with your values and vision. In this episode, we're going to address one of the key principles in the series that answers the question, how to prepare your children for the future. Get ready. This is extremely powerful and a must to teach to your loved ones. So, my name's Doug Andrew, and if you have not viewed any of the other episodes in this series on how to prepare your children for the future, let me give you a little history. Several years ago, I was at a Genius Network meeting, and my good friend Richard Rossi gave an incredible 10-minute talk on how to prepare children for the future, and he covered 8 concepts that I'm very familiar with because we both belong to Strategic Coach. Well, I added 4 to his 8, and for years, I've been teaching families and business owners how to teach these principles because we have many college graduates that get through from college and they think the world owes them a living, but they can't find a job. And then when we test them on these 12 principles, they are seriously lacking. We take the time and teach them, and many times after 6 months of teaching these principles that the colleges and universities failed to teach effectively, they had job offers immediately, several in excess of $100,000 a year. This particular one that I'm covering is number 4 right here on this 8.5 by 11 sheet, which I'll show you how you can get a copy of this by going to the website. I'm going to gift you a copy of my book, Entitlement, Abolition, at the end of this episode. This is a series on how to prepare children for the future, and there's 12. This is actually principle number 4 that we're diving into right now. And I'm going to give a little bit of background because one of my favorite books of all time, and our children devour it when we assign it as reading for our family vacations every few years, is a book called The Majesty of Calmness by William George Jordan. He also authored a book called The Power of Truth and other books. But this book was written over 115 years ago. It's about a 2-hour read. It is heavy, but when you read it, you will think he wrote it yesterday for our time. The Majesty of Calmness. Now, I'm crediting his book for this concept, and I'm paraphrasing because this is how we have adopted one of the principles in the book in our own family. To always consciously train the mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony with our family values and vision. So what does this mean? See, I've mentored a lot of troubled youth, and I've helped many, not only young people, but adults try to overcome addictions with the 12-step programs and so forth. You know, way back at the beginning, if they would have done this, and what I'm going to show you here, the chance that they would have played around with drugs or alcohol or sexual pornography or whatever that got them into sort of a predicament that they were not happy with, could have been prevented by doing an exercise at least once a year to consciously train their mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony with their values or vision. So for example, when I would do this with my own sons, my wife Sherry and I, we have 4 daughters and 2 sons, and our sons in Scouts with their fellow Scouts around the campfire, we would sit down and go around and share, okay, if we were sitting around this campfire 3 years from today or 5 years from today, looking back over that 5 years to today, what has to have happened in your life for you to be happy with the progress you made? And once they all share their vision, then we talk about what are some of the dangers that might pop up that would prevent them. And every one of them would go, well, if I make some bad choices, if I get addicted to drugs or alcohol, if I don't graduate from school, and da-da-da. And pretty soon they had in their mind, they consciously trained their mind to unconsciously say, no, that would be stupid if their friend said, hey, it's graduation night. Let's go up the canyon and get drunk. They were able to go, why would I do that? That might bugger up my whole vision for a brighter future. Because I remember one time, 4 young men did not have a vision. They never came home that night. They were killed coming down the canyon in a car with intoxicated peers. You want to help those you care about consciously train their mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony with your family values and vision. In the 3-dimensional wealth, this channel is called 3-dimensional wealth. There are 3 dimensions of what I call authentic wealth. We have up here, which is what we call the financial dimension. We have down here the foundational dimension. This is your family, your heritage, your beliefs, and so forth. And over here is the intellectual dimension, and this is what we learn, our experiences, our education, and our reputation, what have you. So when we talk about these 3 dimensions, it's like a 3-legged stool. And what I want for my loved ones is for this stool to always have balance instead of wobbling just on the money, or things, material things. Or sometimes I see people get so wrapped up in just building maybe their health that they abuse their relationships, they're poor with money. Or sometimes they just want to study and they're professional students, but this part of their life is bankrupt. You must be balanced. I like to take the wobble out of people's life by balancing these. I often call these the 3 satellites in the GPS of every one of our souls. So, what happens when you begin to get super clear about how to have a brighter future, how to consciously train your mind and body? You always will have clarity come to your mind. In fact, in principle number 3, we call it the clarity statement. Now, I'm going to show you what happens when you get clarity, but the second thing that happens is you begin to get balance. You take the wobble out of your life, and so you begin to have more balance in life between those dimensions, and then you're able to focus on what matters most. With clarity, balance, and focus, you'll have much greater confidence in every single relationship in life. And that's the greatest gift I can give to any of my loved ones is confidence in a brighter future, because confidence, or a synonym is faith, conquers fear. If they're fearful, it's a signal they don't have enough faith or confidence. So what does this do when you provide clarity, balance, focus, and confidence for a brighter future? When those you care about get super clear on their vivid vision, when they're consciously training their mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony with their vision for a brighter future, that will give them unlimited energy. When you have clarity, you get energized. I do this sometimes at the end of a 3-day retreat, and people are worn out, and as soon as they start writing down these goals, they get super energized as they write them down with their vision, because when you have clarity, it gives you energy. Now, what about balance? When you have balance, like going down the highway in a car, it takes the wobble out, okay? Which happens to do what? It increases the velocity in which you will achieve your destination, your goals. So when you have balance in your life, you'll achieve your goals quicker, faster, better, okay? It increases the velocity of achieving your goals or your vivid vision. When you have focus on what matters most, you're able to prioritize. And there's another principle in this series that teaches you how to teach your children how to do that. When you focus on what matters most and you prioritize your life, that increases the accuracy in which you will achieve those goals. So you got clarity, energy. Balance increases the velocity. Focus increases the accuracy. And with those 3, what happens? You have much greater confidence. And confidence attracts opportunities. Lack of confidence repels opportunities. If you haven't figured that out yet, it's time you do. So where does this take us? I have 2 work sheets, or what I call tools, in my library. And when you go to claim your free copy of my book, Entitlement, Abolition, you'll be able to see how to download copies of these. Or if you listen close, you can just do this on a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. The first one is what I call the Appreciation Accelerator. So I'm going to go through this and explain how this works. We do this at least once a year with our children and grandchildren. It's on an 8.5 by 11 form, and I'll go through it just step by step. In order to get the proper focus and celebrate, get clarity, balance, focus, and confidence, I always have them write down at least 3 positive accomplishments they've had for the year. Sometimes I do this quarterly, and I'll usually have 1 per dimension. So as they do this, they will write down maybe under the financial that they set up what I call a laser fund for a perpetual education fund. Foundational, I captured mom's life sketch on video. Intellectual, I joined Toastmasters and began to speak. Whatever it is, they write down a goal or an accomplishment that they actually did achieve, because we want to celebrate, okay? Instead of getting hung up on, oh, I still haven't achieved this and that and the other, we got to take time to celebrate what we have done. Now, the word appreciate actually has 3 meanings. Naturally, it means gratitude, being grateful. And so there is 3 boxes on the bottom part of this form. One talks about gratitude. The other talks about how it increases in value. See, when real estate appreciates in value, it means it goes up in value. So appreciate means an increase in value. And the third definition is, if I were to tell you about how my wife has nearly passed away 3 times and come back, and how we appreciate good health, and how she's been in intensive care and many, many times, if you were to come up and say, wow, Doug, yeah, my mother or my sister went through similar things. I appreciate the way you feel. I appreciate what she went through. You're trying to fully understand or empathize, okay? And so that's what these forms are about. Whenever you have an accomplishment, what you do is you write down why are you grateful for those experiences, and what is that going to allow you to do to overcome and face other challenges. When you write down how did these experiences or appreciation, okay, go up in value, you write down those, and you write down the further progress, because you have to get clarity on where you've been, where you're at, and now where you're going. When you write down what do you now understand better, and how can you help others understand better, now you have completed the 3 definitions of appreciation: gratitude, an increase in value, and fully understanding. One other powerful tool that we use with our children in order to accomplish this is what we call the opportunity breakthrough. I won't go through in detail because this is covered in another episode also, but the acronym BREAK, okay, spells out barriers, resources, experiences, action, and knowledge. So whenever our children are filling out their goals, their vivid vision for a brighter future, they're consciously training their mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony with their values and vision. Many times they have a lot of opportunities. They don't know which one to seize. There's a filter I give them for that. But they'll write down barriers. They'll brainstorm in these boxes, but they'll write down 3 barriers they need to overcome, 3 resources they need to draw from, 3 experiences they need to draw from or have, 3 action steps to get it done, and 3 areas they need new knowledge to obtain to achieve that opportunity, that goal. And so if you want to dive deeper on a particular vision where you're consciously training your mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony, this is how you're training your mind consciously, is by this thinking tool called an opportunity breakthrough. So how can you learn more about this? I would recommend you subscribe to this channel. It's free. Click the little bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new in-depth educational video, which I do almost on a daily basis. But let me show you how you can claim a copy of my book, Entitlement, Abolition. This 200-page book, Entitlement, Abolition, is full 12 chapters of all kinds of concepts like this. To claim your free copy, you simply go to entitlementabolitionbook.com, click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that. But there's also options there to listen and learn, watch and learn. And there's even an 18-hour masterclass that I recorded on video if you want to do a super deep dive into these concepts. But you'll be able to understand and learn all 12 principles on how to prepare your children for the best future possible.